Good morning, grade 7 students. How are you? Let us begin this week 15 with our lesson on literature. You still have me. I am teacher Frances. I'll be staying with you all throughout these online lessons. Please prepare the following things: your pen, your student anthology book, and your literary companion. It's good also if you could prepare your copybook. Our selection for this week is entitled From a Series of Unfortunate Events, The Bad Beginning. Get your student anthology book and open it on pages 406 until 416. Are you ready? Great. Now, students, let us have our short review. Last week, we had the poem entitled Father William from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, written by Lewis Carroll. Then we also had your set of vocabulary. What are those four words again? Great, we have incessantly, muscular, sage, and supple. Great. We also try to identify poems structure. When we say poems structure, it is the way the poem's lines and sounds form regular patterns. And this pattern can be identified through the elements that have been used or applied. What are those again? Great. We have line, stanza, rhyme scheme, meter, and diction. Good job, students. Now state our objectives. The first one, say, I can define the vocabulary in the selection. I can tell the story elements. And I can analyze point of view on the given text. Your difficulties. We are going to identify the meaning of each word which will be found in your text or in your selection for this week. Let us begin. Our first word, say possessions. Once more, possessions. It is a noun which means things that one owns. All the things that you own. It could be your gadgets, your car, your house, and so on and so forth. Those are your possessions. Say possessions. Great. Word, say fragments. Once more. Great. It is a noun which means pieces or parts of larger things. Those are fragments. Say recuperate. Recuperate is a verb which means to recover from something or to heal. Great, that's recuperate. Next, say grotesque. Grotesque, it is an adjective when we describe something that is extremely or very ugly. Say grotesque. Next, we have cobblestone. Once more. Okay, it is a noun which means made of flat, round stones. As you can see in the picture, take a look at there. Okay, those are cobblestones. Next, we have dilapidated. Say dilapidated. It is an adjective to describe something that is worn out and very bad looking due to neglect, or simply it means disrepair or ruined or destroyed. Take a look at the picture for shoes. Okay, that's dilapidated. Last word we have glint. Say glint. It is a noun which means small bright flash of light. That's glint. Now, students, you start logging into your eAlpha account. Go through Google, search for www.ealpha.info. Start doing now. This week's selection is entitled From a Series of Unfortunate Events, The Bad Beginning. You could have the access of this story in your eAlpha account, as what I've told you is start logging in. Or you could read it on pages 406 until 416 from your student anthology book. Allow me to give you the background. This excerpt is from chapter 2 of The Bad Beginning, the first novel in a series called A Series of Unfortunate Events. Chapter 1 introduces Violet Baudelaire. Age 14, her brother Klaus, 12, and her sister Sunny, a baby. The children are enjoying a beautiful day at the beach when they are approached by Mr. Poe, a banker and family friend. He shares the shocking news that the children's parents have died in a house fire. The children move in with Mr. Poe and his family until permanent arrangements can be made for their care. While all three children are very upset, for Violet the worry goes even deeper. The children's parents were very wealthy, and their death means that Violet and her siblings are now heirs for their fortune, or will be after Violet turns 18. As you read, think about how the author develops and contrasts different points of view within the story. Take your time in reading. And now, students, as you are done reading, let us answer your critical thinking questions found in your student anthology on page 417. For the first one, summarize why must the Baudelaire children go to live with Count Olaf. Start thinking for your response and write it on the space provided for you. Okay, it could be the children's parents have been killed in a fire that destroyed their home. Their parents instruct that they be raised in the most convenient way possible. A family friend and their banker, Mr. Poe, arranges for the children to live with Count Olaf, who is the only relative who lives within the urban limits, meaning Mr. Poe is not too far away. Next, infer. The narrator says that after the fire, Klaus found he had little interest in books, and the gears in Violet's inventive brain seemed to stop. Later, we learn that Violet lost her microscope in the fire and Klaus lost his favorite pen. What do these descriptions tell you about the interests and abilities of these two characters, or of these siblings? Start writing your answer. Okay, these descriptions tell us that before the fire, Violet liked science because, as what mentioned, she had a microscope and had an inventive brain. They also tell that Klaus liked reading and writing because he had a favorite pen and he had been interested in books. The descriptions make us think that the children are probably smart and usually like to learn since they seem to enjoy studying and reading outside of school. Got it? Good job. Third one, analyze. What does the condition of Count Olaf's house suggest about his character? Explain it. Take your time. Okay, great. The description of Count Olaf's dark, filthy house suggests that he is someone who doesn't care of things. This makes us wonder if this relative, is the kind of person who would want to take care of children, isn't it? For number 4, evaluate. Do you think Count Olaf is a good choice for the children's guardian? Support your opinion with evidence from the story. Start writing your answer. Great. We can put, I do not believe Count Olaf is a good choice for the children's guardian. Why? Because we can say that he lives in a dilapidated house, which means ruined, broken, or worn out, which suggests that he is a poor caretaker of the things around him. Also, he seems to get angry when he is told that he cannot use the children's fortune. This suggests that he doesn't really care about the children and he only wants their money or their fortune. For number 5, we have to compare. We read the section of the story where the children are having dinner with the Poe family. Imagine you are making a visual version of the story. First, how might a visual portray this scene differently? And the next one, letter B, what might still be the same? You start thinking of your answer. Okay, a video version might show more of the character's behavior and it might show their emotions through their body language or their action and facial expressions. Also, other characters like Mrs. Poe might be shown speaking. For the next one, a visual version would still show the Baudelaire children learning about Count Olaf over dinner and being nervous and confused about the idea of living with him. It might show dinner plates with a dull dinner of boiled chicken, boiled potatoes, and boiled string beans. And for the last one, evaluate. In this story, the children notice a large eye carved into the door of Count Olaf's house. First, what idea might this eye represent? And letter B, how does this idea contribute to the mood of the story? Write your answer. All right. It could be the eye might represent the idea that the characters are being watched. And letter B, this idea contributes to the mood of the story by increasing the discomfort and worry that the children feel at being forced to move in with Count Olaf. Great job, students. We are now moving on the second day for your literature class. We shall have your lesson, Analyze Point of View. We are now moving with your literary companion, found on pages 258 until 259. Let us now read the text on page 258. Reading skill, analyze point of view. In a work of literature, the point of view of a character is that character's unique perspective. The thoughts or thinking, feelings, action, and reactions of a character help develop the character's point of view. A character's point of view can change or deepen based on the events meaning scenarios or happenings he or she experiences. Now we are going to read the two excerpts from our selection this week, a series of unfortunate events, the bad beginning. And we are going to take a look at how Violet's point of view develops as she experiences events or happenings in the plot. For example, number one, we have the Baudelaire orphans went to the bedroom and glumly packed their few belongings. Claus looked distastefully at each ugly shirt Mrs. Poe had bought for him, as he folded them and put them into a small suitcase. Violet looked around the cramped, smelly room in which they had been living, and Sunny crawled around solemnly biting each of Edgar and Albert's shoes, leaving small teeth marks in each one so she would not be forgotten. Let us continue reading. For example, number two, Violet opened the door of the automobile and go out to shake the woman's hand. It felt firm and warm, and for the first time in a long while, Violet felt as if her life and the lives of her siblings might turn out well after all. Let's go back again as these two examples are put into boxes. For example number one, Violet is packing glumly, which shows that she is feeling sad. She thinks of the room as cramped and smelly as she looks around. So we could say that in the first one, for the point of view of Violet, we could say that she is feeling sad and unsure of life. Okay? But in contrary, her perspective or point of view changes as we read the example number two. Violet thinks the woman's hand feels firm and warm, which stirs a pleasant emotion. She experiences a feeling of hope during this exchange. So we could see the hope that is being felt by Violet as she met the woman. And then her perspective will change again as we go along with the story. To fully analyze the point of view, compare the perspectives of multiple characters. When we say multiple, it means different. The different characters in the story. Understanding different characters' point of view about the same situation can increase your understanding and enjoyment as you read the text or story. Now, let us apply what you've learned on how to analyze point of view. In your student anthology, reread the scene in which Mr. Poe tells the children that he is sending them to live with Count Olaf. Then, review these lines of dialogue from the scene. What is the children's point of view about being sent to live with Count Olaf? Write your answer in the box below. Let us read the excerpt. But our parents never mentioned Count Olaf to us. Just how is he related to us exactly? If he lives in the city, Violet said, why didn't our parents ever invite him over? I thought he was a count, Claus said. Now, let us identify the children's point of view. Okay, it could be the children are suspicious of Count Olaf. They ask many questions about him. They seem very worried about going to live with him. Now, review this excerpt from the same scene. What is Mr. Poe's point of view about sending the children to live with Count Olaf? Write your answer in the box below. Okay, let us read the excerpt. He is both a count and an actor, Mr. Poe said. Now I don't mean to cut short our dinner, but you children have to pack up your things and I have to return to the bank to do some more work. Like your new legal guardian, I am very busy myself. The three Baudelaire children had many more questions for Mr. Poe, but he had already stood up from the table and with a slight wave of his hand departed from the room. Think of your answer again about Mr. Poe's point of view. All right, Mr. Poe wants to be rid of the children. He is in such a hurry to get away from the children and their questions that he cuts short their dinner and leaves the room. He's probably relieved to be sending them away. And number three will serve as your homework. Imagine that Mrs. Poe shares the children's point of view about their going to live with Count Olaf. Write 2 to 3 lines of dialogue that Mrs. Poe might say to Mr. Poe about the situation. Let us have this week's recap for literature lesson. Remember the story elements that we had for your story from a series of unfortunate events, the bad beginning. Remember also how did we analyze point of view? Remember that a point of view is the character's perspective, including the thoughts or ideas, feelings, actions, and reactions. Don't forget to complete your homework on page 259, number 3 question or number 3 item. This has been Teacher Frances. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.